Within the first year, we'd gone from the smallest estates you can possibly imagine to a 32,000 square foot warehouse selling $25,000 a weekend.
That's wild.
The great thing about starting a estate sale company is there's very little initial investment.
Okay.
Any fees that do pop up, you can just pass those along to the customer or the client.
You collect all the money too, so you don't need to go chase down payments. You pass on the 60%, right?
Right. Estate sale companies work in virtually any community, 5,000 to 10,000 and up. There's money to be made in every single aspect. The sale of the house, the sale of the contents, the move, and or list the house for them.
I mean, this is a time in a life when people spend money. Everyone knows death, divorce, moving, like when you move, when there's a change in your life, that is when you spend money.
An estate sale company is the perfect company to start. If you aren't tech savvy, it's very easy.
You could literally start this with no money and then be cash flow positive your first week.
You could literally go there with tape and a marker. You can start it for virtually nothing.
What if you could start a business for literally $0 and make $6,000 profit your very first week? Oh, and did I mention that this hops on the mega trend of retiring and aging baby boomers? It's an estate sale business, and there is way more demand than supply for this business in any given market. So today I meet Braden, who left a boring corporate job and started an estate sale business that quickly made him 6 figures a year. But I didn't find out until the end of this episode that the estate sale business is just a front. It's just a lead generation machine for a much more profitable business that I can basically guarantee you no one else is doing. Please enjoy. So by the end of this episode today, will our viewers have enough information so they can go out and start their own estate sale business?
At the end of today, your listeners will see how anyone who is motivated can start an estate sale company in a week or less and start acquiring estates to liquidate within 2 weeks or less.
How much startup capital?
Almost nothing. You need to have tape, a price gun, which you can get off of Amazon, and a phone, a point of sale system ideally, but you can use your phone, and as many tables as you can get your hands on, and some friends and family members to help you. And that's it. You and I could leave here right now, start an LLC, post an ad online, and have a sale lined up. This is a typical result. Within 2 or 3 weeks, you and I could have an estate sale company and our first estate sale in just a matter of days.
And it's a good business because there's not a payer. Like the people that are, representing this are the heirs of the deceased, right?
Right.
So they're probably not as price sensitive as the deceased would have been.
That's a good point. Typically there's 4 groups of people that need an estate sale. Deceased, they call it the 4 Ds. Deceased, divorce, debt, and downsizers.
Okay.
The downsizers maybe would be a little bit more price sensitive because typically that's grandma or grandpa going to assisted living. But usually, in my experience, the homeowner just wants to get rid of the contents as soon as possible so they can liquidate that. It is all based off of how much they sell. However, if you suspect that a house might not gross what you need to cover labor and expenses, you can set a minimum threshold guarantee where you say, my fee's 35%. I think we're going to gross $10,000, but for sure we're going to set a $2,000 minimum.
Okay.
So that if it's rained out, if the people don't show up, because you're posting pictures online of what you're going to sell through estatesales.net. If it's just not a good turnout, whatever the reason, you still make that $2,000. So in that instance, if you only grossed $5,000, you're still going to get $2,000.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a company called Cerulli and Associates. I may not be pronouncing that correctly, but they anticipate $124 trillion of wealth transfer in the U.S. in the next 20 years.
Wow.
And approximately 20% of that is real estate. I couldn't tell you how much of that is personal property, but the numbers are headed straight through the roof. And even 8 years ago, it was still trending upward.
How long did you work for them before you branched out on your own?
I worked for them on 2 sales, and all the while they're just sending us typically smaller leads.
Wow.
An estate sale company, we did that with multiple estate sales companies, and they were more than happy to find somebody trustworthy that they could send smaller estates to. So we went from, grossing $1,000, $2,000 a weekend on these smaller estate sales to 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. We started building our own network. We set a good example of, we knew it worked or what we thought worked, and we definitely knew what didn't work and what you shouldn't do. So we just focused on doing the things that the really good estate sale companies were doing, and just built up from there. We wanted to, dip our toes in.
Yeah.
We didn't, at that time, these smaller estates, we were still doing that on the weekend on top of our full-time job. And within 6 to 7 months, we landed our first $1 million property with like a $30,000 estate sale. They had sold their home and they had to be out in like 30 days or less, and all the other companies were booked. After that job, my business partner at the time, he quit his full-time job and just dove, straight in. And a couple months later, I did too. Said, hey, can I bring you guys breakfast, coffee, donuts, etc. at your next broker meeting, and just tell your staff about, for 10 minutes about what we do? And 9 times out of 10, those brokerages were like, sure, because otherwise they'd have to pay for it. They're gonna have the meetings anyways.
Yeah.
So
I've heard that so many times. Like, real estate offices are very receptive to stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas it's really hard to get in at any other type of office typically.
I agree.